Sorry.
Our next committee of the day is the Parks and Recreation Committee. Those committee members are Lombardo, Mosley, Malik, Neal, and Connor. All committee members are present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to call the Parks and Rec Committee meeting to order. And first order of business, we'd like to have approval of the minutes of our last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Opposed? Very good. Minutes passed. We okay there? All right. We have two items to meet on this morning or this afternoon. So the first item is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract with the Akron Public Schools to provide meal preparation and delivery services as part of the city's annual summer food service program and declaring an emergency. We have Mr. Sean Volman here, our deputy mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee and council. As I mentioned, we do have an annual program each summer to feed healthy meals to children and teens age 18 and younger while school is not in session. So when school is out, a lot of these students lose their access to meals that they would otherwise get at school, and this helps fill the gap for students that might otherwise go hungry. As an added benefit, we get a grant to reimburse ourselves from the Ohio Department of Education.
Very good. Very good. And this is all the Akron Public Elementary Schools?
Yeah, well, no, they'll be hosted at our community centers. The schools themselves have their sites, is my understanding. But Akron provides the food itself, so that's the schools provide the food itself, so that's who we contract with.
Okay.
But I can give you the list of the centers where it will be.
That'd be interesting.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah. Is there any questions from our committee members? Councilwoman Mosley?
Thank you. Sean, you said only the community centers are going to be hosting. All of the community centers from, if you could go down the list.
Oh, I could do it.
Park, Patterson Park.
The list on for the 23 program, we have Ellett, Joy Park, Kenmore, Lawton, Mason, Northwest, Patterson, Reservoir, and Summit Lake.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, our kids in South Akron, how do they get to one of the community centers?
I believe as well that the schools will have their own program. That's my understanding. I'll double check with Brittany, but that is my understanding, that there will be meals available at the schools as well.
Okay, if you could have her send me that list. And then my final question is on, I don't know, is it federally mandated that the children have to be 18 and under? Because I know over the years, we had a program at East Akron Community House, and sometimes the parents are walking them up there, and we always have this robust amount of food left over, and the parents can't have any.
I do not know the answer to that question, but I will find out.
If you could,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Those were great questions. Councilman Malik?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Volman. I think I recall correctly, but just wanted to make sure. So basically, APS is they're preparing all the food for their sites and our sites, and then for our sites, they're delivering the food.
Correct, and then that's what the payment that we're entering into the contract for is.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I think the last several years, APS was the sole provider because of some of the federal money through COVID.
They had I guess they had relaxed a number of the regulations and such through COVID, and it made more sense for APS to be the sponsor of the whole program. Sure. But now that is, so this is doing what we did back in 2019.
Sure.
And previous years. Yeah.
And then just echoing my colleague, it would be great to have a list of the community centers and the schools.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then outside of our committee here, I see Councilwoman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Volman, I'd like to request that list as well. I note that from the names that not a location in Ward 1, not Balch Street. I'm hoping that there will be school locations within Ward 1 because there's certainly a significant need. Thanks.
I will circulate that list as soon as we're done. Well, at least I have the community centers. I'll work to get the schools.
Okay. Councilman Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know that this may be part connected to what Councilwoman Mosley was saying. Do we have in place where we have containers where young people can throw the stuff that they don't eat in their lunch into that container, not into trash, but into a container so that food can be taken to a shelter or anything of that nature? I know that's always been a challenge because they don't allow children to take food out.
Again, it's something I'll have to look into. I do not know the answer to that.
Okay. Hold on just a minute there.
Mr. Volman, just following up, I know it's June, and I assume we want to get this ironed out as quickly as possible. I assume we would want to pass this tonight.
Oh, consent would be fine, or, taking a
Okay.
week would be fine.
When is the food service supposed to start? Okay. If it'd be possible, if we could, my recommendation to the committee.
Actually, June 12th, I have that.
June 12th?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, in my opinion, it would be helpful if we could suspend the rules, and if you could provide some of that information this
we'll do it.
afternoon, and then we could vote on it this evening if the committee is favorable to that. I would make that motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report.
All right, we have a motion for suspend the rules with a favorable report. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Very good. Motion passes. Our second piece is a ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the reconstruction of Patterson Park Community Center, the project. Authorizing the Director of Public Service without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contract with Prime AE for design services for the project. Authorizing the Director of Public Service without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts for construction management services for the project and declaring emergency. Mr. Ludlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Yes, this is an important piece of legislation. As you read in, we're going to be rebuilding the Patterson Park Community Center. So to give you a little bit of background, as you know, back in 2019, Akron Recreation Bureau, they presented a community needs survey for a strategic plan, and there was over 1,500 responses to that survey, and prioritizing the upgrades of our community centers with long-range planning, building maintenance. We looked at these facilities, and the needs for Ed Davis, Patterson, and Reservoir were the three that came out of that survey that needed the most, either improvement or replacement. So with that, this piece of legislation will allow us to bid the new community center. It's fully designed by Prime. That started a couple years ago. So this legislation, it'll be bid probably within a few months. Demo of this community center will happen later this fall or over the winter, and then reconstruction. I don't have the renderings with me, but I'll try to get some down here by tonight so you can see them. But we are having a community meeting on June 15th at the community center. This has been advertised, and I think the councilman, yourself, will put that out for us too to get more people there. This is funded 100% by ARPA funds, as you could see in the UCR. With that, I will take any questions, particulars. I do want to give you a little update at Davis. It's ongoing, the construction. We look to open that community center probably spring of 2024. The Perkins Pool, the construction's ongoing. The renovations of the bathhouse are almost complete. They're working on the pool very diligently, and we hope to have that pool open the week of July 17th, which is next month. The Reservoir Pool and Community Center will be bid later this year. We will obviously not close that pool till the season's over, and then that pool will be demoed sometime over the winter. The reconstruction of that pool, bathhouse, and community center, because of some of the underground vaults, there's a chance that pool may not be open next summer, okay? It's probably gonna be more like 2025 before that whole site is completed, so. The community center, I'm not sure yet if we can get in there late 24 or not. That's what we're hoping for.
Okay. So maybe this is just a comment. I don't know if it's a question, but this is obviously isn't your first rodeo with the demolition of a community center. So I believe, like all the programming that's going on right now at Patterson Park is being scheduled other places, because the community center, it's going to be built on site. I think the building might be turned a little bit. They'll build around the splash pad there.
Basically, the splash pad's the only thing we're not going to touch.
Right, right.
And logistically, that parking lot being lower and people coming into the top's always a challenge. So I believe there's going to be a parking, I know there's going to be a parking lot and an entrance off of Patterson. So the parking lot will stay where it's at, but we'll put in more of an ADA parking lot off of Patterson Avenue. And then that will allow people to come into the top side of the community center without going up an elevator or going upstairs.
Right, right. But again, the programs and everything.
Everything will be relocated.
Relocated,
absolutely.
yes.
And we didn't want all these done at the same time because we didn't want to have 3 shut down. So
Okay.
we'll be demoing over the winter, and then, like I said, we're hoping to have Ed Davis open in the spring, and things will be shifted around, absolutely.
Okay. So more information on June 15th, which I'll get the word out best I can to the community. Is there any questions from our committee members? Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you. Chris, so the, is it Prime? It's the consulting company?
They're architect, yes.
So they're the architects, the
Designing the new
consultants, so
building.
are they doing the construction as well? Because all of this is under one piece of legislation.
It is, but this gives us authorized to bid the construction. So that will go out, and then we'll entertain bids. We'll advertise like we do on Bonfire and everywhere else. Hopefully, we get multiple bidders. Unfortunately, when we bid the pool over at Perkins, Infinity was the only one that bid. So we're really hoping that we get more bids to build this community center. But we're finding that, and I have legislation later, we'll talk about getting more bids, but we're not getting a lot of contractors. They're also busy. So we thought if we waited till closer to the summer's over to bid this, we'll get more people to bid on this. But this does not give, this is, only thing for Prime is to do the architectural work, which we hired them a couple years to do.
So did they do the one for Ed Davis as well? Or that was in, okay.
Yes, we use the same one, trying to look at the same equipment, you know, whether it's the same hot water tank or the same furnace, try to keep working with building maintenance, and AES helped a little bit too, on to standardize this equipment as best as possible. Different sizes obviously are needed at different places.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk to you offline. I have another question, but it's a long one.
Okay.
So I'm okay.
Okay. Councilman Malik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first question is for you. What time is that community meeting on the 15th?
You know what, 6:15, something like that, 6:30? I don't think I had the time, because I didn't start to advertise it yet. There will be food there, yes.
I will be there. And then just
Well,
as,
okay. I don't know if he's looking for it, but,
Go ahead. I can-
okay, go ahead.
just a brief question for Mr. Little, and kind of following up on Councilman Mosley. I know it's bidding the construction, but I think not necessarily bidding the construction management. Can you talk through that?
Well, what we're going to look for in the construction management, we will look at, use the QBS, the Qualified Base Solutions, and we'll look at companies that have availability,
Okay.
and then we will pick the best We ask for prices in that, so we will pick somebody. First, we try to look how much we can do in-house.
Sure.
So it's 100% or it's a hybrid where we do some in-house, because a lot over at Perkins, we're doing in-house with our own staff. So that's how we'll pick the construction management.
Okay, thank you, sir.
6:30 is for that meeting. I just sent it to Sarah, and I'm sure she could send it to all of you.
Thank you.
Okay,
You're welcome.
6:30, okay. I don't see any other hands for our committee members. Other than committee members, other council members have a question regarding this piece of legislation? Okay, not seeing any. What's your pleasure there, Mr. Lettle?
Could we suspend the rules?
Yeah, I'd make a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
All right, we have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules with a favorable report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Very good. Motion passes. With no other items coming before us, our meeting is adjourned.
Chairman?
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not see Mr. Neal. Go ahead, Mr. Neal.
Sir. Yes, thank you. I was wondering, do we have any more update on the contract with the soccer field? We did get the service contract, which was for maintenance of the fields, but not for rental of the fields. And based on what we received from the service contract, it read that there should be no other compensation outside of what they were paid to cut the grass. So I'm wondering, do we have any more information in regards to the soccer fields? And if there's a contract, if so, what does that look like? And do we have any records been turned over as far as what's been collected from field rental?
I know that we were waiting on some people to come back from vacation, so there's Mr. Malik, go ahead.
Yeah, I know we discussed this a few weeks ago, and we obviously didn't have council last Monday because of the holiday. I think that maybe if next week or the week after, I think one of those we have off, but if we could schedule maybe a conversation about this for a meeting so that we have some time to prepare and everyone has some time to prepare, would that work, Mr. Chair?
Sure, that works. If more information is available, we can get together.
Mr. Chair, I
Go ahead.
was off a couple weeks ago, or I was not here. If you could possibly just email me those questions in the
Okay.
next couple days, and I could get everything to you next week.
Okay.
I'd appreciate it.
All right. Mr. Lettle's requesting an email list of questions so he can prepare for the meeting. That would be good. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm hoping that the questions I ask can be a part of the official record. I mean, we've been going over this for 10 years, plus. If I need to restate my questions so that they're a part of the official record, a part of the minutes, I can do that.
Well, here in the committee, we're just going to discuss legislation. So if there's other questions regarding an operation or administration of the city's business, then let's put those part of the record, let's put it in an email, and then we'll get the right answers. But other than that, we're just going to discuss legislation right here.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, this is Park and Recreation. This is where these things are to be discussed, so that it can be a part of the official record. If I need to restate my questions,
No, we're not going to do
I
that.
can do that.
No, we're not going to do that. We're just going to put it in an email and discuss the administration or a question regarding the administration of the soccer complex.
All due respect, they've been put in an email multiple times.
Okay.
The all the records have been sent. So they need to be a part of this official record so that when others go back to look, it will be documented. That's what a Park and Recreation Committee or any other committee is about. That's where you discuss the business.
We're discussing legislation in this committee. Mr. Malik?
Yeah, I know there's a lot of disagreement around this, or, there can be, but I think it would be helpful for all of us if the questions that are there can be put in an email, if all of us can be CC'd on it, and then we can have some discussion about it next Monday at Parks and Rec Committee. I think that would be helpful for all of us.
Well, I just want to discuss legislation. If we need to have a separate meeting on administrations of the city's soccer complex or any other Parks and Rec facility, then let's do that in a separate meeting. It is the rules. Okay, so if there's no other business, our meeting is adjourned. I'm hearing voices, but I don't see any hands. That's it? Okay. Is there any other motion for adjournment? Second? Second? All right. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Our next committee of the day is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Mosley, Kamer, Holland, Lombardo, and McKittrick. If we can give everyone just a moment to come to the chair and turn on their video if they're here. Madam Chair, we have all committee members present except for Councilman Kamer, whenever you're ready.
Okay. If I could call Public Service Committee to order, can I get a motion approval of the previous meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. We have two pieces coming before us. The first piece is an ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service or its designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with Rotland Company for Construction Management Services for 4 2023 capital projects in the Water Division and declaring an emergency.
Madam Chair, we actually had an additional piece that came in today, item number 0.
Don't have that one. Can you read it in, Sarah?
Sure.
Okay.
This is a resolution declaring it necessary to improve Bellowwood Drive between the termini of Lafayette Drive and the northern terminus by paving, grading, constructing and reconstructing curbs, concrete sidewalks, and driveway approaches, and installing roof drain pipes, and declaring an emergency.
Okay. All right, Mr. Luttle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This piece of legislation is the resolution of necessity. It allows us to go ahead and assess the property owners of this improvement. This 1,000 feet of roadway was installed when they built the homes back in the 60s. Concrete has been failing. A petition process was done by the homeowners that butted this. They all signed up to have this pavement replaced. We are going to, in this project, is replace a piece of storm sewer, replace the rest of the 1960-something water main that's under that pavement, rebuild a sanitary sewer that's about 25 feet deep. None of that gets assessed to the property owners, but since we're going to remove all the pavement, we're going to do that work at the same time. The concrete will be removed, and then we are going to install new curb and then asphalt pavement instead of the concrete. So this project will be coming back to you later with the construction legislation but this just allows us to assess the property owners.
Okay. Here it goes. Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? Is consent okay, Chris?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion for consent?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I can see that Councilwoman Holland has her hand
Councilwoman
raised.
Holland?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Mr. Luttle, I have had some very recent correspondence from the petitioner, Lafayette resident, who had some questions about the basis for the assessment, and I just wanted to point to that for you. However, I did want to follow up with a sincere thank you. This has been a matter that the residents of the area had been asking for since well before I came into this position, and I really appreciate that this is coming up now.
You're welcome.
All righty, can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, ayes have it. Okay, number 1. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with the Rotland Company for Construction Management Services for 4 2023 capital projects in the Water Division and declaring an emergency. Mr. Luttle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Yes, we'd like to hire Rulin to manage these 5 projects for us. Three of them are the lead service replacements that we're starting throughout the city. Two were awarded to one contractor, he was low bid, and then another went to another contractor. So that's about $12.5 million worth of ARPA money for lead service. And as you know, we're replacing that line from the street to the lawn strip, from the lawn strip all the way into the house. So there's going to be a lot of coordination with homeowners getting into the house to put these new lines in. And then the other two projects are up at the water plant. We've had legislation previously. One is our caustic soda system that they'll be overseeing that, and the other is the North Summit Supply Booster Station. That is on property of the water plant, the booster station. That booster station supplies water up into Twinsburg and primarily Coke manufacturing. So with that, I will take any questions.
Okay. I have a quick one on the lead services. How are you all going about designating which homes are the priority for lead services?
Well, we try to bundle them on streets that are going to be future resurfacing. We did that first, and then also we felt like if a street had, let's say, 10 of them on it, we're going to get a better price if that contractor has less mobilization. So if we find one on a street that somehow got missed in other projects, we're doing that in-house. So we are doing some of these with our own crews, but these contracts are with where we bundled them together, and we try to look at those streets that are going to be resurfaced, whether later this year or next or the year after. Okay, so that's how we pick those services.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions from committee members? Councilwoman Holland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Little, I think you may have indirectly answered this question, but I just want to make sure I understand the answer. So this is a no-bid contract with Rural Ed. Can you give me, I guess, a succinct understanding of why this is a no-bid contract?
Well, we went through, and even though we didn't put these projects out to bid, Ruland has been doing some construction management for us up at the water plant for a number of years. So we talked to them, looked at their workforce. We know their prices on certain inspectors, whether it's a survey inspector or a field inspector. So we put together a project, and we bundled all these together to get a little better price. That's how we picked them.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from committee members or council members? Seeing none. Chris, what's your pleasure?
That consent's fine.
Can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Now, what did I just do in my second piece? 1 second. I lost my spot. Hold on, here I go. Second piece is ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with the C&S Engineers, Inc. for design and construction management for services at the Akron Fulton Airport and declaring an emergency. Mr. Leto?
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of committee. We actually did, I mean, it says without the formality of advertising for bids, but the FAA requires us to use the quality-based solution process. So we did send requests to 8 aviation consultants. 2 did respond, plus we did advertise on Bonfire, and CNS was the lowest and best out of the 2 firms. This is a 5-year contract with CNS. They've been doing our design and construction management for the last 10 years. And over the last 10 years, we've brought several pieces of legislation to you on upgrades to the Fulton County Airport. We did calculate what we've been able to get, whether it's from FAA or ODOT or combination of both. So since they've been our consultant, we've obtained over $7 million of grant funding at the Fulton County Airport. So with that, consent would be fine.
Okay, so question. So you're saying this actually went out for a bid?
Well, we didn't actually bid it as you would, a traditional bid, but we did advertise on Bonfire to request for proposals, okay, and their qualifications. So moving forward, we're going to try to clean up this language on these, so it's, because it looks like we're not bidding this stuff, and we really did, okay?
Okay, even if it just says that you put something on Bonfire, I think
Right.
it would
Yep.
give a
We
better
will clean this
clarification.
language up moving forward.
Okay, sounds good. Questions from committee members? Question from council members? Can I get a motion for consent?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. We have nothing else coming before us. We are adjourned.
Number four. Freeman. Our next committee of the day is the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, Mosley, Lombardo, Malik, and McKittrick. All members are present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call the public safety meeting to order, please. All members are present. Can I get approval of our meeting minutes from last time?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving forward, we have one piece in front of us. It's an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of advertising for bids with Time Clock Plus LLC for the purchase of scheduling software for the Akron Police Division and declare emergency. I believe Steve Fricker, are you here to present this?
Yes. So this is, it's going to be scheduling software that is initially used by the police department that will ultimately be used by many of our other departments. So this will work in conjunction with our Workday system. So it's really more of a scheduling tool. So it will allow some of the unique scheduling things that need to be done within police and fire in terms of shifts and things like that. That's what this software will handle. So it's something that's going to make it easier for us to kind of manage our workforce, monitor how much overtime needs to be hired for different shifts. And then this will integrate with our Workday system, so instead of having to enter that time, the scheduling system will be able to interface that time for those departments that use it over into our Workday system. So this is kind of an additional step to our payroll and time tracking process. This is something that Workday does not do on its own. So over the past few years, we've been looking at a number of different software packages, and we felt that this was the best one to use.
All right, thank you, Steve. Committee members, any questions or comments for Steve Fricker? Okay, any other council members? All right, I don't see anything. All right, Steve, what's your pleasure on this?
Consent agenda is fine.
Okay, thanks.
So moved.
Can I get
Second.
all in favor for consent agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thanks. That's all we had for today for public safety. So thank you, Steve, and thank you, council members. We're adjourned.
Our next committee of the day will be the Public Utilities and Green Committee, and it will begin at 2:45. Those committee members are Freeman, McKittrick, Connor, Mosley, and Holland. Again, that's the Public Utilities and Green Committee, and it will begin at 2:45. Thank you.